I used to think my life was untouchable, solid job, beautiful wife, family that had my back. Turns out, all it took was one hoodie in the laundry to set it all on fire. My name's Evan, 32 years old. Architect by trade, dreamer by nature, fool by default, apparently. 6 years married to Lily. She was the kind of woman people looked at and said, "You're lucky, man." And God help me, I believed them. She laughed at my stupid jokes. She packed me lunch with stupid little post-its that said things like, "You're gonna crush it today, handsome." My brother Jake? 29. Golden boy. Everyone loved him. The charming, screw-up little brother who somehow still landed on his feet every time. He lived in my guest house rent-free while he found himself, after a rough breakup 2 years ago. I didn't mind. We were tight. We always had been. Or so I thought. Life was normal. Boring, even. Dinner on the patio when the weather was good. Sunday football with beers and cheap wings. I thought boredom was safe, predictable, solid. Then one Sunday afternoon, everything shifted, almost too small to notice if you weren't looking. I was tossing laundry into the machine, half distracted by a podcast, when something slipped out of the pile and thudded onto the floor. A hoodie. Not mine. Too small. Navy blue with a rip seam by the sleeve. Smelled faintly of cologne that wasn't mine either, something cheap and aggressive. At first, I just figured Jake had left it in the house. Wouldn't be the first time. But when I picked it up I spotted it. On the tag, written in fading sharp, Jake. A weird, sour taste hit the back of my throat. Why the hell was Jake's hoodie mixed in with our laundry? I told myself it was innocent. Jake hung out at the house all the time. Maybe Lily tossed it in without thinking. Maybe. I stuffed it into the washer and told myself to forget it. Spoiler, I didn't. That night, Lily was different. Distracted. Flushed. Laughing too hard at whatever stupid videos she was watching on her phone. Jake didn't come inside for dinner, said he was working on something in the guest house. And I sat there, across the table from my wife, feeling like there was a pane of glass between us and I was the only one who noticed. Something was wrong. Something was rotting in my house, and I was the idiot smiling through the stench. The next day, while Lily was in the shower, I did something I swore I'd never do. I installed spyware on her phone. Not because I didn't trust her, or at least that's what I told myself. I just needed to know. Because something was gnawing at the edges of my mind, something bigger than just a hoodie. It didn't take long. A week later, on a random Thursday, I checked the GPS tracker I'd hidden in her car. Guest house, guest house, guest house. Not once, not twice, 5 times. Always when I was at work. Always when Jake was working from home. My stomach twisted so hard I had to sit down. Still, I told myself it wasn't what it looked like. She's just dropping off food, helping him with something, lending a hand. Family helps family, right? Right. That's what I told myself, until the day I came home early. It was raining, sheets of it. I pulled into the driveway, car tires hissing on the wet pavement, and I noticed something. No lights in the main house. But the guest house? Warm, glowing windows. Shadows moving inside. I sat there for a minute, staring. My hands were clammy on the steering wheel. I got out. Walked slow. Feet crunching on the gravel path. Halfway to the door, I heard it. Laughter. Moaning. I stopped dead. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around. To walk back to the car. To pretend I never heard it. But I couldn't. I pushed the door open. And there they were. Lily. Jake. Our bedsheets twisted around their bodies. My wife and my brother. Her head whipped around first, then Jake's. 2 faces frozen in a snapshot of absolute horror. I didn't punch him in the face like every cell in my body was screaming at me to do. I just looked at them. And then I smiled. Turned around. Walked back out into the rain. I got in my car. Drove to the cheapest motel I could find. Checked in under a fake name. Collapsed onto the rock-hard mattress, still wearing my rain-soaked clothes. And for the first time in my entire life, I understood how a man could snap without raising his voice. Because I wasn't going to scream. I was going to ruin them. And they were never going to see it coming. The first call came around midnight. Lily. I let it ring. Then Jake. I let that one go too. Then Lily again. Texts started piling up after that. Where are you? Please, Evan. We need to talk. It's not what you think. Come home. Please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. I watched the screen light up again and again until the battery finally gave out and went dark. I didn't answer a single one. I couldn't even feel the pain yet. It was too big, too sharp. It sat in my chest like a splintered brick, pressing harder every time I breathed. Morning came and I didn't move. I just lay there, cold and motionless, until checkout time forced me out. At the front desk, the woman gave me a pitying look like she knew exactly what kind of man checked into a place like this with dead eyes and no luggage. I drove aimlessly for a while. Past the grocery store Lily liked. Past the park where Jake and I used to play pickup games as teenagers. Past the bakery we bought our wedding cake from. Everywhere I looked, my life felt foreign. Like I had been exiled from it overnight without even a warning shot. Finally, I parked near the beach. Just sat there, staring at the gray, churning waves until the world started to blur. That's when the second betrayal landed. My phone buzzed, the backup one I kept for emergencies. A group text from my mother. Family dinner tonight. Everyone come. Red heart. Lily's name was on the invite. Jake's too. And me. Like we were all one big, happy family. Like nothing had happened. I stared at the screen, feeling something inside me snap. They had to know. There's no way my mother, the woman who could smell a lie 3 states away, didn't know. And they were inviting me to dinner? With them? Like I was supposed to sit across from my brother while his hand found my wife's under the table? My hand shook with rage, but I kept still. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction. Not yet. Instead, I replied, "Sure. Wouldn't miss it." Sent the text with a smile on my face that didn't reach my eyes. Because now I knew. It wasn't just Lily and Jake. It was all of them. Bless their betrayal. Smile through the knife twisting in my spine. Well, they were about to find out exactly what kind of man they'd underestimated. Dinner was surreal. I showed up in a clean shirt and jeans, hair combed, fake casual like nothing in the world was wrong. Lily was already there, perched at the kitchen counter like she belonged. Jake stood behind her, arms slung casually across her shoulders. My mother bustled around the stove, humming. Dad sat at the table, thumbing through the sports section like he didn't notice the open wound in the middle of the room. It was a game. I played my part perfectly, all while my stomach churned like broken glass grinding against bone. We listened to my mother talk about her garden like everything was fine. When dessert came, Lily's favorite, peach cobbler, my mom turned to me with an almost too bright smile. "You know, Evan," she said, slicing into the cobbler, "sometimes life doesn't work out the way we plan." I blinked. "Is that right?" I said, voice smooth as marble. She nodded, passed me a plate. "And sometimes," she continued, "we have to be brave enough to let go of the past and embrace new beginnings." Jake squeezed Lily's hand under the table. I saw it, like a slap I wasn't supposed to flinch from. "New beginnings," I repeated, turning the phrase over in my mouth like something bitter. "Exactly," my mom said brightly. And sometimes love doesn't follow the path we expect, but it's still love, and it deserves to be celebrated." I set my fork down. "So you're saying I should just move on?" I said. "Yes," she said, relief flooding her face like I was finally starting to get it. "We want you to be happy." Jake leaned forward, fake sincerity dripping off him like sweat. "You're my brother, man," he said. "I didn't plan this. It just happened." Lily sniffled delicately, like she was the injured party. I looked at each of them in turn, and I realized something so cold, so clear, it felt almost holy. They didn't think they had done anything wrong. Not enough to deserve what was coming. Good. Let them think that. I smiled. A real one this time. "You're right," I said, picking up my fork again. "It's time for a new beginning." The relief was palpable. Tension melted out of the room like fog under the sun. They thought I was broken, blessing their betrayal with grace and forgiveness. They had no idea, because I had already set the clock ticking. And when the alarm went off, there wouldn't be a soul left standing. It only took a week for the truth to fully come out. I stayed quiet, played the part, came to family dinners, helped Jake move some furniture into a bigger place he was renting. He and Lily needed more space. They didn't even flinch when they asked me for help, like asking a man to build the gallows he's going to swing from. And I smiled, told them how happy I was for them. Because behind that smile, behind every word I spoke, I was stacking dynamite under everything they cared about. And they were too busy celebrating to smell the fuse burning. It happened one night after another fake dinner at Mom's. I stayed late under the excuse of helping clean up. Jake and Lily disappeared into the living room, huddled over a laptop. I moved quietly, listened, caught bits and pieces. Venues booked. Deposits paid. Your dress fittings next week. Laughter. Soft, secretive. The kind you only share when you think the world is yours for the taking. That's when I realized they weren't just playing house. They were planning a wedding. Their wedding. And not in a year. Not after some respectful mourning period for my marriage. No. In 6 weeks. 6 weeks from the day I found them tangled in my sheets. My brother and my wife. My own blood and the woman I swore my life to. Planning to throw a party to celebrate stabbing me in the back. I felt something split open inside me then. It wasn't sadness anymore. Or even rage. It was clarity. They were going to have their fairy tale. Their shiny new life. And everyone, my parents, their friends, our whole circle, they were going to clap and cheer like this wasn't built on betrayal and rot, unless I lit a match under it, and burned every last inch to the ground. The next day, I started the real work. First, I called a buddy from college, Luke, the kind of guy who lived for hacking smart fridges just to see if he could. Told him I needed access to a venue's digital system. Nothing crazy, just a slideshow presentation during the wedding. Luke didn't ask questions, just said, "Send me the details." I sent him the name of the venue, the date, the time. He laughed and said, "You got it, man. Give me a couple weeks." While Luke worked on that, I started gathering my own arsenal. I compiled it all into a neat, brutal little folder labeled Truth. Meanwhile, I pretended to play nice. I let Lily drag me to brunch to catch up. I let Jake text me about wedding color schemes and ask for my honest opinion. I even agreed to help write a damn toast for the rehearsal dinner. God, the audacity. But every fake laugh, every hollow toast, every hand Lily brushed against mine like we were still something, it just sharpened the knife I was going to drive into their perfect little fantasy. 2 weeks before the wedding, Jake cornered me after dinner. Everyone else was cleaning up. He stood there, shifting awkwardly, hands stuffed into his pockets. "Listen, man," he said, not meeting my eyes. "I know this isn't ideal. I know it's weird." I waited. Let him dig his own grave. "But you've been amazing about it. Seriously. Like we're family, you know? Nothing can change that." He finally looked up. God, he believed it. He actually believed he could gut me like a deer and still call it family. "And I was wondering," he said, voice almost cracking with the weight of his own self-congratulation, "would you be my best man?" For a second, the world went so quiet I could hear my own heartbeats slamming against my ribs. He wanted me to stand beside him. Smile for the pictures. Hold the goddamn rings. I stared at him. And I smiled. Big. Wide. Full of teeth. "Of course," I said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Wouldn't miss it." His face lit up. Like I'd handed him a lifeline he didn't realize was already fraying. The day of the wedding came faster than I expected. I woke up early. Put on the tailored tux Jake had picked out for me, charcoal gray, sharp as a blade. Luke texted me one word. "Ready." I smiled. Pocketed a flash drive labeled vows, and walked out the door, ready to tear their kingdom down, brick by brick, in front of every last witness they had. The best thing about watching a house burn is knowing you built the fireproof exit while they were still throwing the party. The venue was beautiful. Rows of expensive white chairs lined up like little soldiers facing a garland-wrapped altar. Jake stood there at the front, shifting nervously in his tux, grinning like an idiot. Lily was in the back, hidden away, probably fussing over her hair and makeup, getting ready to walk down the aisle like a queen stepping onto her throne. I stood next to Jake, feeling the heat simmering under my skin. The guests started to fill the seats. Family, friends, people I hadn't seen in years, old neighbors, cousins, my dad's work buddies. All smiling, all clueless. I could feel my heart pounding like a war drum in my chest, but outside I was ice. The wedding coordinator gave the nod. The music started. Some sappy acoustic version of "Can't Help Falling in Love." People rose to their feet. The back doors opened. And there she was, Lily, my wife, or she had been. She walked slowly down the aisle, clutching a bouquet of white roses like they could shield her from the fallout that was about to rain down. Jake's face lit up when he saw her. Big, dumb, puppy love grin. God, he looked so proud, so smug, like he'd won something. Like he hadn't just stolen the bullet from the loaded gun I'd been saving for myself and fired it straight into my spine. She reached him, handed off her flowers, turned to face him. The minister started talking, some generic crap about love and sacrifice and loyalty, and I almost laughed out loud. Jake squeezed Lily's hands and she squeezed back, and then the minister said the words, "If anyone has reason these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace." The room went silent. You could hear the air conditioning hum. I smiled, stepped forward, and said clearly, calmly, "I do." The whole room froze. Lily's face drained white. Jake blinked, confused, like he couldn't process what he was hearing. The minister stammered, "Sir, this is highly irregular." But I wasn't done. I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out the flash drive labeled vows, walked over to the tech table in the back. The poor boy manning the projector looked up, startled. "New file," I said, cool as hell. "Run it." He hesitated. I leaned in. "You'll want to see this." He plugged it in. The screen behind the altar flickered. Guests turned, curious. Jake called out, voice high and panicked, "Evan, what are you doing, man? What the hell are you doing?" I didn't answer, because the screen lit up, and the first thing everyone saw was a text message. From Lily. To Jake. "He'll never find out. He's too busy being boring. I feel alive around you. I forget he even exists when we're together." The crowd erupted in confused murmurs. Then another message. And another. Selfies. GPS locations. Date-stamped proof of every lie. Every betrayal. Photos of Lily slipping into the guest house when she was supposed to be at yoga. Screenshots of Jake bragging to his friends about finally winning Lily away from that stick in the mud Evan. And at the end, a picture of the hoodie. Jake's hoodie. The one that started it all. The room exploded. People standing up. Phones whipped out recording. Jake shouted, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" Lily was crying now. Not delicate little sniffles. Ugly, shaking, gasping sobs. The minister backed away like he was afraid he'd get caught in the crossfire. I stepped back down the aisle slowly, savoring every second. As I passed my mother, I paused just long enough to whisper, "You knew." Her face crumpled. My father stared at me like he didn't even recognize the man I'd become. Good. They shouldn't. They never knew me at all. Jake stumbled off the altar, trying to reach me, begging, "Come on, man! We can fix this! Don't do this!" I looked him dead in the eyes. "You already did." I walked out the doors into the blinding sunlight. Didn't look back, because behind me, their perfect day was crumbling into ashes. Exactly the way I planned it. I didn't go home right after I blew up the wedding. I drove straight to a new apartment I had quietly rented 2 weeks earlier, an hour outside the city, away from every memory they thought they'd buried me under. I'd packed my things in secret, little by little, box by box, just like they'd stolen pieces of my life when they thought I wasn't looking. I stole back my freedom without a sound. By the time they realized I was gone, I would already be a ghost, and while they scrambled through the ruins, trying to piece together the wreckage, I would be long, long gone. The calls started that night, first from Jake, then Lily. I turned my phone off after the 15th voicemail, because I didn't need to hear their excuses. I didn't need to hear them begging. I had already heard everything I needed when they were planning cake flavors and seating charts while my heart was still bleeding out on the carpet. They wanted a new beginning? They got it. They just never thought they'd be starting it alone. 3 days later, the video went viral. I don't know who posted it first. Some cousin, probably, or maybe one of the guests who thought they were doing me a favor by spilling the tea. All I know is by Wednesday morning, I had over 200 unread notifications and a dozen texts from people I hadn't spoken to in years. "Bro, is this you? Holy shit, Evan. I'm so sorry, man. This is insane. You're a legend." Clips of Jake standing slack-jawed while Lily sobbed her mascara into her dress circled the internet like vultures around a corpse. Commentators broke it down frame by frame like it was a damn sports replay. People made memes. They made TikToks. Some guy even set the whole disaster to a dramatic opera soundtrack and racked up 500,000 views in 2 hours. I should have been embarrassed. Maybe a small part of me was. But a much bigger part? It laughed. Laughed until my ribs hurt. Because for once, the truth wasn't buried under fake smiles and family loyalty, and second chances they didn't deserve. It was right there, 12 minutes long, in full HD for the world to see. And there wasn't a single lie they could tell big enough to bury it again. Jake tried to get ahead of it. posted some half-assed apology on Facebook, claimed, "Feelings are complicated," and "Love isn't always clean," and "We didn't mean to hurt anyone." The comments section torched him alive. Every old high school friend, every neighbor, every distant relative. They ripped him apart like wolves on a carcass. Lily went private on everything: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Deleted every photo she ever posted of them together. But it was too late. Screenshots live forever. Her brand, the perfect golden girl, shattered overnight. The boutique wedding dress shop she worked for dropped her. PR nightmare. The vendors who had booked her as a wedding planner pulled out, citing ethical concerns. Jake didn't fare much better. The tech startup he worked for had a squeaky clean image to uphold. They mutually agreed to part ways. 2 days after the video hit 1 million views. Translation: "Get the hell out before you stain us too." A week later, Jake called again. Blocked number this time. I answered, for the satisfaction. His voice cracked before he even said my name. "Please, man," he rasped. "Please. You made your point. Just please help me fix this. We're family." Family. The word hit like a fist. I thought about all the times I covered for him growing up. And he burned it all for one night between the sheets with a woman who didn't even have the decency to keep her betrayal private. I smiled into the phone. "Family?" I said, voice cold enough to frost glass. He sniffled. "Yeah. You're my brother, man. Please." I let the silence drag until it hurt. Then I said, "You're right. We're family." He exhaled like he thought he'd won something. And then I finished. "And I finally learned that family doesn't mean a damn thing when loyalty costs too much." Then I hung up, blocked the number, deleted the call, felt the weight of it roll off me like someone had cut a noose I didn't even realize was still around my throat. I spent the next few weeks rebuilding my life brick by brutal brick. New job, better job actually, with a company that didn't know or care about my spectacular public implosion. Therapy too, because even the strongest house needs foundation repairs after an earthquake like that. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, the old life they torched stopped mattering. And one morning, I woke up and realized I was free. It didn't take long for the ripple effects to finish them off. I didn't lift a finger. The avalanche they set in motion buried them all by itself. One night, a few weeks after the wedding that never was, I got a text from an unknown number. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. It was a picture of Lily, sitting alone on a park bench, hair a mess. Tears streaking her face as she stared at her phone like it held the last pieces of her broken world. Under it, a single message: "She's living with her parents. Jake's sleeping on a friend's couch. Thought you'd want to know." No name. No signature. Didn't matter. I got the message loud and clear. Jake and Lily had lost it all. The house they put a deposit on together? Gone. The jobs they bragged about? Gone. The friends who cheered them on, who understood their complicated love story? Gone. Because nobody wants to be associated with the cautionary tale that made international headlines. Nobody wants to stand next to the punchline. And that's what they were now. A ghost story you tell at bars when someone starts flirting with a friend's girlfriend. Remember Jake and Lily? Don't be that stupid. A month later, I got one last letter. Handwritten. No return address. I almost tossed it unopened. Almost. But curiosity got the better of me. Inside, 2 pages. Tightly written. The handwriting slanted and frantic. It was Lily, pouring out everything she didn't have the courage to say out loud. "I'm sorry. I was scared. I didn't know what I was doing. You were always too good for me. I missed the life we could have had." She didn't beg me to come back, didn't ask for forgiveness. She just bled onto the page. For the first time since I caught them, I felt something other than rage or disgust. I felt pity. And then, very quickly, I felt nothing at all. Because the truth is, the life she was mourning? It wasn't real anymore. She didn't just destroy what we had. She destroyed the future we could have built together. You can glue the shards of a shattered glass back together, sure, but you'll never drink from it again without tasting blood. I folded the letter carefully, dropped it into the trash without ceremony, and went out to meet a friend for dinner. No guilt, no second guessing. Just clean air in my lungs and the simple, heavy knowledge that I had survived the fire they thought would consume me. Funny thing is, I ran into Jake 6 months later. Total accident. I was grabbing coffee at a gas station off the highway, middle of nowhere. Walked out, cup in hand, and there he was. standing next to some beat-up Ford with 2 flat tires, kicking the bumper like it was the car's fault he was still a screw-up. He saw me, froze. For a second, neither of us said anything. Then he opened his mouth, maybe to ask for a second chance. I didn't stick around long enough to find out. I raised my cup in a little mock salute, got into my car, drove away without a single word. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Because Jake didn't matter anymore. Lily didn't matter. The family who sold me out for a shiny new fairy tale didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the road in front of me, open, clean, stretching farther than I could see. And this time? I was driving alone. On purpose. I didn't build a new life overnight. It wasn't some movie montage of smiling dates, new apartments, and inspirational playlists. It was slower. There were nights the silence felt heavier than anything else. Mornings where I still reached instinctively for a second coffee cup. Random flashes of memory. Lily's laugh, Jake's stupid jokes, that hit like sucker punches in the ribs when I least expected it. But every time, the hurt faded faster, got lighter, until eventually it stopped feeling like drowning and started feeling like breathing again. I kept my circle small. People who didn't have a single memory of Jake standing beside me at birthday parties or family barbecues. It was clean, untainted. Mine. One night, maybe a year after the wedding disaster, I found myself walking past a small art gallery downtown. There was an open house, live jazz drifting into the street. A girl stood outside, struggling to tape a sign to the window while juggling a giant bag of flyers. She caught me staring, grinned, rolled her eyes. "Sucks being the intern," she said, laughing. I laughed too. It felt good, natural, easy in a way that nothing had been for a long time. She introduced herself, Mia. We talked about everything except the things that had broken us before. No rushed confessions, no heavy history. Just 2 people standing under the city lights, breathing the same clean air. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't waiting for the ground to collapse underneath me. People always want to know if I regret it. The wedding reveal. The public humiliation. The scorched earth I left behind. I don't. Not for a second. Because you can spend your whole life letting people hurt you, convincing yourself that love means forgiveness at any cost. Or you can decide that love starts with yourself. That sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't yelling or fighting or begging them to see you. It's standing up, showing them the wreckage, and walking away without letting a single tear fall. I didn't burn their world down out of spite. I did it because they built it on stolen ground. And when you build something on a lie, eventually the truth comes knocking. Unforgiving. Sometimes when I'm driving late at night, windows down, cool air flooding the car, I catch myself smiling for no reason. Not because the past doesn't still echo sometimes, but because I know, deep in my bones, that I survived them. Not just survived. Outgrew them. Outlived the version of myself that let betrayal sit at his table, smiling like a fool, begging for scraps of love from people who only knew how to take. That man's gone. And the man who's left behind? He knows exactly what he's worth, exactly what he deserves, and he's never settling for less again.